Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tisha Perry, New Life Realty Group broker owner. I'm here to give you your monthly reports. Each month, I provide different reports and different videos providing you with information related to the community and real estate. And boy, it has been crazy, ladies and gentlemen. When I say there's a lot going on, there's a lot of headlines, there's a lot of confusing headlines, and what we have to do is make sure that I provide you with the most accurate, the best way I can by doing research. Because if a consumer is confused, that confusion can turn into concern pretty quickly. And that concern can turn into fear pretty quickly. And that fear could turn into a paralysis of pretty quickly. Crazy concerns. And can go downhill when it comes down to doing transactions. So my job is to make sure that I have the best answers to provide, best answer to your questions as best as possible. All right. And, we do research to make sure we get that information so we can try to remove the confusion and to make you feel comfortable. So, ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned, let me tell you, there's a lot of confusion out there right now. And remember, in times of uncertainty, people follow the certain. What you can do is, and what I want to do is to help you to be able to better understand what's going on the best way I can. You know it well enough, and I understand, I have to make sure that we provide the best information possible that's going to help you to be able to understand the different levels of what's taking place. And we do research. And one thing I know, we often talk about what's in the heart of a salesman, what's with the heart of a teacher. Well, a teacher understands the subject matter, and they teach. And you have to understand this subject matter. I have to understand the subject matter of real estate in order to be able to provide you with an update. For example, the consumer survey of home prices that I have here. This survey that is done every month where Fannie Mae makes and asks consumers, do you think prices are going to go up over the next 12 months or down over the next 12 months? These are December numbers from 2010 through 2022. And it's very obvious that what we see here. Going into this year, last December, heading into this year, 2023, it was the highest number of people, highest percentage of people, consumers that thought prices were going to go down over the next 12 months. So we can see there's a lot of confusion about what's really going to take place. That's because we had some crazy headlines on the internet. And then what people see on the internet, they assume that is true. So now we come into this year with a lot of concern by the consumers and different people wanting to know what's going on. And they have fears. Those headlines were examples like this. At 20% home price decline, even a decline in 7 forecast model are leaning crash. So people thinking it is going to be a crash. Here's where the other 13 models show on here. Look at this. It is have the 2023 housing market going. Well, if you look at the little red box that's showing here, that was in December 7, 2022. Fortune magazine. So in December of 2022, in just a couple of months back, what winds up taking place in Fortune was saying we might see a 20% home price decline. Well, no wonder people were afraid. And let's take a look at how deep that fear was. Now, here's that same consumer confidence survey going all the way back in June 10th. The only reason I didn't bring it back into 2006 and prior to 2006, they didn't take the survey back then. The first survey they even took was in June 10th. Okay, so that was in June 10th. And that's where this starts. But when we can see the aftermath of the housing crash, there were a lot of people concerned prices were going to continue to fall. So then this thing settled out, right? So we look at this, we see we got to 2013, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And obviously in the spring of 2020, when the pandemic hit, everyone thought prices were going to crash. All right. So there was a lot of fear there. And we helped out we're doing some reviews. I did some videos and told some people about some things. I mean, the sales had not changed. People were still buying. People were still selling. So we try to gather information to consumer, and things settled down a little bit once we actually provide knowledge to the community. So with all the things that's going on the internet, when you talk to experts and information provided, it kind of helps people to understand what's really going on. Things are still a little bit rocky with the pandemic and what's going to happen. Then all of a sudden, with all the talk about repeat of 2020 crash towards the end of the year, look at these numbers in the red. Look at that. The drift, what happened? In the aftermath of the housing crash and for a length of time, the drift of the pandemic fear, people were very, very concerned. So you can see that the red bar falling as we go through June, the last survey taken. But what we can see here, ladies and gentlemen, if you think about it, it started in January 37, the same number we had in December, and we are getting better. But again, the number 26 is way low. Many people are still concerned that prices are going to depreciate, and we have to turn that around. And I want you to understand what that 26% represents. That's 1 in 4 still believe that the house prices are going to depreciate. So if you're sitting at the table with 8 of your family members for dinner, 2 people sitting at the table think the prices are going to fail. Think they're going to fall down. Now, if you go to a barbecue, a neighborhood barbecue, and there are 80 people there, 20 of them think prices are going to fall. Now, if you walk out of your house of worship this weekend, and there are 400 people in the house of worship, walking out in the front door with you, 100 of them think the prices are going to fall. That's a lot of people. Now we have to make sure that we get the word out that prices are not falling, and that the only thing we know, the facts are here to provide and help the fear. The facts shatter the fear. Now we have to have the facts though. I can't just come out here telling you something without having some facts. We have to share the facts to the people so that you guys won't be afraid and have knowledge about what's really going on, what's happening with the prices. Now, the reason that all the crazy headlines were occurring last fall and winter was, in fact, most economic people thought the people would panic and put their home on the market. People were not going to put their home on the market. A whole lot of houses were not going to go on the market because where are they going to go? And the interest rate had risen. So that in itself going to make some changes. They said, well, with mortgage rates rapidly raising, with the talk of recession coming, people were going to be afraid of 2008 all over again. Now, anybody know anything about real estate? 2008 was a market crash back then. They were going to rush all their houses to the market, and that oversupply was going to cause a challenge. As a matter of fact, Bill McBride talked directly to that. Just recently, he put that out. As inventory picked up sharply in 2022, I adjusted my outlook in October 2022 and wrote house prices, 7 years purgatory. I noted that a 10% decline in minimum prices now seem likely. So if you think about this, he talked about we're going to be in a depreciation state. What a depreciation state for 7 years, and the prices might drop 10%. But then that's what he said. This is not necessarily the case. That's what he just came out with. However, the inventory surge in 2022 was somewhat of a head fake. It's kind of like, got our hopes up. Some potential sellers quickly listed their homes, probably remembering what happened with houses in 2006 and 2011 period. but that surge ended pretty quickly. It didn't happen what they thought. There was no crash last year. And let me graph this, what he's saying. This is something that I had to research, and I had to make sure I put this in note so I can remember these things, because when you research it, you have to remind yourself of what was said. And so it says, think about this. The gray and light blue and dark blue lines are in 2017 and 2018 and 2019. There's a seasonably amount of new listings that came to that market. Okay. If you look at that, you'll see that the seasonally new listings came to the market. It builds into spring, then coming into May, it starts to drop off and then drops off more dramatically where the winter months come. That happens every year. That's nothing to be surprised about. Now, there's nothing to be concerned about. That is normal seasonally of all listings coming to the market. But the breaking point is normally in May. It's usually slow down in May. You may see that black dotted line coming down. Last year, the red line, we saw that it didn't come all of a sudden. A break in May. It continued. It continued on. Okay, for a month upward. When people saw this, the market analysis, they said, oh my God, this is going to shoot up all the way to the right. We're going to have a tremendous amount of new listings coming to the market. At the same time, interest rates are going up. So that was crazy, the interest rates going up, which is going to really squeeze demand. A high supply, low demand prices are going to come crashing down. I mean, this is crazy. Now, the only thing that didn't happen, they went up for 1 month. Now, this is what Bill McBride said, okay, about a head fake. And then what happened? It wasn't like it didn't happen what they thought. Basically, they dropped like a rock. It dropped lower than where 2017 and 2018 and 2019. We didn't have too many listings. It wasn't as many listings as they thought. We had too few listings. We didn't have enough. Now, the other thing that a lot of people said, well, the recession, the end of the situation, they're going to have a tsunami of foreclosures. People thinking there's going to be tons of foreclosures. So they assumed that there will be a whole bunch of sellers going to be putting their homes on the market, and then got to a whole bunch of foreclosures coming. No. Well, that happened. That was wrong too. This is a foreclosure in the net. Look at this. This is foreclosures in the first 6 months each of the years. So we can see is where nowhere near 28, 29, and 2010, the numbers. Nowhere. We are not anywhere close to that. From 28, 08, 09, and 2010, where the numbers had fell. We're nowhere close to that. We are a little higher than last year because of, if you look at this, you'll actually see headlines saying we're at 185% above 2021 numbers. The number of foreclosures. And that quote, the headline is not inaccurate. We are 185% above 2021 numbers. 2021, we are doing better as far as the foreclosure rate in 2022 and 2023. All right. So if you think about it, I can't say this without lying. Okay. But I am saying this is not giving you the proper perspective because, in 2021, there was a, monetarium. It was almost impossible foreclosures in the house. It was almost impossible. Everything that was providing, the amount of money that was given to consumers. So of course, we're way up over that by 65,000, in number, because that's the lowest number going all the way back from 2008 and probably long before that. We're going to be back on foreclosures to the normal numbers, somewhere around maybe 500,000, because every year things happen. Things happen, people jobs. There's normal situations. You're going to have foreclosure. There's no way around it. But it's not going to be a tsunami of foreclosures. People lose their jobs. People get sick. People get divorced, and they don't handle it well. So that's going to be a normal thing when it comes down to getting foreclosures. Now, all right. So what winds up taking place? We're going to have a normal foreclosure like we did in 2016, 17, and 18. All right. Now, all of this is for the first half numbers. We're going to go back up to those numbers. All right. And then the 4-year numbers are going to be somewhere around 500,000. That's the average. But that's going to be okay. All right. Now, what's going to happen? What happens now? It's a terrible thing for those families, especially if they have children. I'm not saying that's a good thing for these families, if they do have foreclosures. What I'm saying is normal number of foreclosures coming in the market. It's not going to crash the market. You're going to have foreclosures. People are going to have hard times. That's normal. If anything, right now, we need the inventory to sell. But that doesn't mean people are just focusing on, okay, I want the market to crash so we can sell houses. No. As a real estate broker, I love to see families succeed. I want them to do well. I want to see people living a normal life and being stable. All right. Well, the recession is coming, or fear of recession is coming, and people are thinking that a recession is coming. Regardless of that, they're even saying now people are not paying their mortgages. I don't even know where they're getting those numbers from and those facts, because that doesn't mean people are not paying their mortgage. People are paying their mortgages. As a matter of fact, if you look at the most current seriously delinquency in numbers, people are 90 days, 3 months payments behind. Those numbers are falling like a rock. People are not 90 days and 3-4 months behind. People are actually trying to keep a place to live because, first of all, rent costs money. It costs a lot more money to rent now. And it'd be just as much as to own, so you're going to be paying high rent. So who wants to lose their house to go pay high rent? There are more and more people paying their mortgages. Okay. People are not just, trying to give up their homes just so they can get something else. And they're not trying to be on the street and paying high rent. So it's just that they way off on the numbers, if you think about it. So what actually did happen, prices, last year and going into the end of last year? Well, in order to do that, before we go there, let me do this. Talking about the delinquency rate, May's overall mortgage delinquency rate matched the all-time low, and serious delinquencies followed suit. Furthermore, the rate of mortgages that were 6 months or more past due are measured at ballooned in 2021 because they were in a monetarium, and so that they didn't pay their mortgage. All right. That has rescinded to a level less observed in March 2020. So we're back at normal numbers before the pandemic. We're back at that. And going back to Bill McBride, he called the crash in 2006 and 2008. He was right on top of that. He received a lot of information on that, and he was on point when he announced that there was going to be a big crash in 2006 and 2008. Matter of fact, it impacted me. I was doing real estate investing back then. I had my real estate license, but I was coming out of doing a lot of investments, and a lot of things happened. There was a lot of predatory lending going on during that time. The foreclosure activity was at record levels. It was so high. It was at record levels during that time. Yet as prices fall, foreclosure activity will probably continue to increase. That was what was said during that time. It was already said, and he was right on that. The activity will literally off the chart. It was just so crazy. There's so much foreclosures back then. And that was back then. This is what he said last week, a few weeks ago, given the report and data. There will not be foreclosure crisis this time. So the same guy, Bill McBride, who provided information on the 08 and 06 crash, specifically came out, and he's good with it because he's professional, and I get information from professionals. He says there will not be a foreclosure crisis this time. Ladies and gentlemen, that's over. But what is going to happen with the prices? Well, first of all, let's take a look back at last year. What actually happened with home prices in 2021? I want you to see this, the 48-year average, not seasonally adjusted. How much prices, according to Case-Shiller, how much do prices actually go up every month? Look at this. You can see there's a reasonably, if you look at this, you'll see it. All right, it's a season to everything. As the home buying season comes into play in the spring, prices go up more substantially. Then as the year goes on, they don't go down. They don't necessarily go down. Look at this. There's no red bars there, but the level of appreciation, and that's a big difference. If you look at that, you can see the level of appreciation. That's a big difference between those. To depreciation and appreciation. You can see that. You can see there's a big difference between appreciation and depreciation, and deceleration and of appreciation. Houses in October, in November, and December still go up, just not as high to the same level. Look at it, as they did earlier. Okay, this year. If you look back at the chart, you'll see. Well, let's take a look at last year. All right. First, I'm going to minimize this graph so we can add things to it. That's this graph minimized. Well, if we take a look at what happened in 2002, we blew away normal appreciation the first month. Okay, it was 10 times greater than normal. The second month, we're even more than 6 times greater. Take a look. The next month, we're even more, 4 times greater. The next month, we're even more. Well, half times greater. Of course, we couldn't sustain that or sustain that. So what winds up happening? If you think about it, what's taking place at the end of the year? There had to be a correction. All right, there had to be some correction somewhere, and there was. That's normal. What happened last year? It wasn't the pretense that prices are going to fall 20%. We had high appreciation at the first half of the year, and it got corrected in the second half of the year. So what's going to happen this year? Well, we already have been looking into that. Come on now. We do research. We already have a feeling for that. Let's go back to the appreciation numbers. This is a normal appreciation. And let's take a look at it. The 48 average 48-year average compared to what happens so far this year. Now we have used the resale numbers so that you can see the repeat sale numbers, and it takes a little long. So May is the last numbers out. The June numbers will be out in a couple of weeks. All right. Now, these are the last numbers available, but we can see that they're below normal appreciation in the first month, below normal appreciation in the second month, and much closer to normal appreciation in the next couple of months. So, what can we see, ladies and gentlemen, when you think about it? Come on. Thank you for tuning in. The challenge last year was pretty simple. The challenge last year, we got crazy at the beginning of the year and we made correction, and now we're going back to normal market. As you can look at these charts and see, we had to, we had it too good the first half of last year. We did, compared to what was going on now, real estate market was booming for investors, buyers, and sellers. I mean, everybody was just buying properties Sellers were doing well with sales, getting their household, and it's still going. And if you don't believe those three, if you look at the thing, it's still going. Zillow, Black Knight, and Freddie Mac all say the same thing. Appreciation was too high last year, and it was adjusted. It's coming back to the other side. Now, some people are saying, well, there's still places in the market like Austin, Texas, and Boise, Idaho. Those places are still suffering. San Francisco, San Diego, or whatever, they may not be the case, Well, if you think about it, ladies and gentlemen, I know that some metros have not caught up to where they were at the height of June of last year. I get that, but let's take a look at the overall picture, not just last year's picture. If those people, didn't sell, if they had bought a house a year ago to sell it right now, that was just a bad move no matter what happened. All right. They had all those costs of buying a house that they would have not been able to recoup those funds. But as long as they stay in the house, I think things are going to be okay. What gives me the feeling, well, ladies and gentlemen, here are 20 cities that looked at the case stellar, and this is what happened since March 2020. A little over 3 years ago. Again, remember, these are many numbers. All right. So percentage change. Okay. Look at it. People are saying poor people of Phoenix. Now, I get it. They're running through some difficult times right now, but they just came off 3 years. All right. That's crazy. Whatever the house they own went up 50%. Tampa up to 63.8% in Tampa. That appreciation they wrote over the last 3 years has given them great wealth. Did some of these cities have to give back some of that wealth? Yeah. But they're on the return back now. So the only city that's not showing month of over appreciation right now is Phoenix. They're down by 0.1%. I guarantee you, next report, they'll be at a positive 2. So the worst is behind us over the last year. And if we look at the 3 years prior to that, and by the way, this includes last year, if we look at the 3 years prior to that, buying a house made all the sense in the world. And if you bought a home last June, people say, well, what happens if you bought a home in June at the height? Well, I look it up. If you bought at the beginning of June, they also got a 5.04 mortgage rate. Their mortgage expenses is less than if they bought one right now. They didn't get hurt if they stayed in the house. They'll get back the equity they lost. But as far as a monthly mortgage payment is concerned, they actually did better off buying the last unit, the higher price and the lower mortgage rate. So those who bought at a higher price and a lower mortgage rate, those people are throwing fear around. And I don't know if the fear is there, should be there. There's no doubt that the housing market, from the prices perspective, have changed. Farming prices have now fully erased, have fully erased and pulled back, retract through the last half of 2022. Now, they're talking about nationally. All right. So nationally, and lifted the seasonally adjusted Black Knight Home Prices Index, if you see here, to a new record high in May. So what is Andy Walden saying? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, think about this. From a national perspective, we're already got everything back. Now again, all right, if you think about it, I know there's some cities that didn't. Let's take a look at how far some people were off. And I appreciate the people I'm about to share to you. So there were a whole load of people that said, we're going to fall in 2022. by 20%, and they disappeared. They're coming out with forecasts now. So I appreciate these people saying, this is what we said. This is how we're going to correct it. This was a correction made. You have to do research. It says the original forecast from December of last year is in that middle column of the Brokers Bankers Association, said prices were going to go down and a little less than 1%. Fannie Mae said 1.5%. Morgan Stanley said 4%. AEI said 15 to 20%. Zillow said they're going to go down a little less than 1%. And CoreLogic, they said we're going to go up to 3%. Now look at the last column where it says, well, you're going to be flat. And I bet you with the next one, they're going to be up a little bit. Next forecast for the end of the year. So Fannie Mae went from 1.5% decrease this year. Then now we're going to see 4% appreciation at the end of the year. Morgan Stanley said we're going to lose money. We're going to break even. Look at there was the market last year. All of a sudden we're going to lose a little less. Okay. Now they're saying we're going to have a good year. We're going to be up 5.5, and CoreLogic affected theirs also a more perspection number. But remember, what's going to happen? Remember this: the appreciation that's seasonal, was going to wind up taking place as we go through the rest of this year. Month over month, number isn't as high as it was the month before. Not saying houses are losing value. They're not just climbing at the same number they were a month before. You know, where the headlines are going to say prices are coming down, they will be wrong and they won't care. We have to get out of this, get this out. And I'm trying to let you know now, it doesn't mean it's because I'm saying the prices are going down that it actually is. It may be a little less than it was the month before. So this is why it's critical that I give this information to the public and, do my research. And exactly what I said. Deceleration of appreciation is not the same thing as home prices of depreciation again. And there's no red bars here. We didn't say depreciation. We might be, by the end of this year, might have 1 month that's the red bar. Not saying that's not possible. All I'm saying is when we see appreciation decelerating, okay, they're going to say prices are falling, and that's not true. Those headlines are going to drive fear. That's the whole point. The headlines drive fear. Now, so I'm trying to get out in front of the headlines and let you people know what the deal is. All right. So, and the reason that I know prices are going to be okay is to look at inventory situation. People say, well, inventory's up. Yeah, it's up this week, but let's look at the same week in 2022. The same week of 2019, there's a shortage of inventory. Okay. And reluctancy in the buyers. Even 7% of mortgage rates hasn't appeared to scare them. We need listings, ladies and gentlemen. We need listings. But so here's the thing, though. We need them because we know we have people that wants to buy homes. And I'm here to help buyers and want them to be able to succeed in their home ownership market. But it's been crazy. A lot of highs and lows with prices. As far as buyers, the pricing has been consistent. But the issue is as far as the buyers being scared of the market and because there's not a lot of inventory of what they may like. All right. But so we're trying to help people. In this seller's market, sellers often think that they don't need an agent because anyone can sell a house. All right. But that's not necessarily the case. All right. So at the end of the day, there's plenty of buyers out here. And we want to help the buyers connect with the sellers and get them in their home. So the thing about it is, it's important to remember that agents don't sell houses. Okay. We facilitate. All right. And we consult and protect the clients through the process. They make the decision. That's who we are. All right. We try to do the best we can to facilitate and help consumers get to where they want to get. And we want to help you understand what's taking place, because basically at the end of the day, we have no control over what takes place. Buyers can change their mind. Sellers can change their mind. Now, mortgage rates, when it comes down to that. Now, mortgage rates, here's the projections going forward. If you look at the left-hand column going down, we started the fourth quarter of 2023 and go to the third quarter of 2024. That's the forecast. All right. We're already in the third quarter of the year. So the forecast in the next 4 quarters, and we gave you the Fannie Mae, the Mortgage Bankers Association, National Association of Realtors, then we can average all three. And what we can see is everyone seems to think that by the end of this year, we'll be somewhere close to 6. And then also we go through next year. We're going to break the 6 number into the 5s. And that's going to be crucially important. So ladies and gentlemen, think about this. I really think that the sellers that are locked in because of their mortgage rates, they have a 3 or 4% mortgage rate. They're not going to take a 7. They might take a low 6, but I think the magic number, and Zillow just came out with a survey showing this. Once we break into the 5s, things going to get crazy. And good news, as they are thinking, well, part of the reason that mortgage rates are up right now is because of inflation and what Chairman Powell is doing in regards to the rate hikes. Now, it's not a direct correlation between what he's doing and the 10-year treasury, then the spread of the 10-year treasury. It's very complicated. It's a very complicated equation that I've been trying to figure out, for a while now, after looking at this, and still haven't been able to figure it out. Now, obviously, all the crazy projections that are out there, no one's been able to figure it out. But this is what I do know. What's taking place is the reason Chairman Powell, who's providing the data, is doing this is because he's trying to drive inflation down to the 2% number. That number they're comfortable with. Once we hit 2%, then we're going to wind up taking place and he's going to go back off. Once he backs off, then we're going to see the 10-year treasury probably lower a little, and we'll see the spread lower a lot. The spread being the difference between the 10-year treasury and the mortgage rate. That's the difference in usually under 2. For the last 50 years, it's been under 2. Our average, well under 2. I should say, all right, well, but right now it's over 3. Now, but if a 10-year treasury comes down and spread, comes down, then it'll be in the 5s. That's exactly where we're looking for. Now, some people have asked, some people have asked, well, are we close enough? Well, we're at 3. Look, went from almost 9 to 3. Can't just pull the plug and stop the uncertainty of what's going on to happen next. There's a reason for that. I'm not trying to defend anyone. I'm trying to just let you know there's a reason for all these changes. Now, if we look at with the gray circle there on the left, what we can see back in April of 07, back of April, 70 and 72 inflation skyrocketed at the way up to 12.2%. The Fed did, this is crazy. The Fed, they needed to do this rising rates. it dropped tremendously. It dropped to 5%. They thought that would be good enough. However, they didn't lower it enough. So as soon as they hit that number, they backed up. They took their foot off the gas and inflation shoot up to 14.6%. That's what, Powell's afraid of. He stops too soon and he stops too soon, short of 2%. That's just going to shoot back up. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, let's bring it and get over it. It's something that we have. It's limited to what we can do. And there's going to be some changes. And I've used this analogy in a couple of different places. So I have to say, I've heard it before. You don't own McDonald's. Okay. You own an Apple store. See at McDonald's. So here's an analogy. Let's think what it is. This is what I have to say. It's just something to think about. So this is what I'm about to say. So you don't own McDonald's. You own an Apple store. It's an analogy. See, at McDonald's, if it snows and the roads are backed up and people all stuck at home, the McDonald's loses their business. They don't do breakfast. They don't do lunch. They don't do dinner. They lose their business because the people don't eat until the snow melts. They continue to eat. So they're just not going to do it at McDonald's. Now, Apple Store is different. If them was going to go buy an iPad and all of a sudden the snow came and they were stuck at home, well, once the snow was shoveled, once the snow melts, once the road is cleared, they're going to the Apple Store for an iPad. Apple doesn't lose on a sale because of the snowstorm. But what does happen is once the snow is cleared, they get the normal sales of the day-to-day that they get back up the snowstorm. So unless the snowstorm was for 3 days, okay, the 3-day backup of people all of a sudden hitting their store in the next couple of days, so they get a rush of business. They don't lose any sale. Same thing with us. Because of this craziness right now, that's not going to stop people that's just had a child from buying a house. It's not going to stop someone that just got divorced from selling their house. None of this is going to happen. We're going to get all those sales. People are going to sell homes. People are going to put their listings on. They're going to come to a rush back when the rates start to come down. So the thing is, we just have to be ready, okay? Because there's going to be some changes, and we just want to be there to be able to assist the customers, and that's what I'm here for. All right? So I really appreciate you guys for allowing me to be able to present this information. If you enjoyed this, click like and click share, subscribe, and I hope to be able to provide an update each month. This is pretty lengthy, so I'm going to end it now and touch base with you about another update. Thank you.